Hello and welcome back to episode 8 of the Carvecast. Now in this episode, this is going to be a completely separate episode to all of the others, very different. This is an entire episode dedicated to tech in skiing. Now, to preface this, to put it into some kind of context, for many years I did, and to a certain degree still do, post videos on my main YouTube channel, which is at Mr. Tybox123. On there I've got hundreds of thousands of subscribers and it's always been dedicated to technology, and that is some of the reason why I have a fair amount of it here. So just to put that into context. Now, also based upon that, this question comes from long-time viewer. This guy has been listening and watching me for a very, very long time on my main YouTube channel, Adam UK 2929, and he says, I would really like to know if you use any tech in skiing. So that is his first question, and then the other questions I'm going to answer in a separate video. So Adam, I know for very many episodes I have been saying I'm going to come back to this. I'm now here. I hope you're still watching and you're going to get to see this, but this entire episode is going to be dedicated to technology in skiing. Now, let's start off with cameras, because if you're going to go skiing, you really want to capture as much information as you possibly can without having to whip your phone out all of the time, because that detracts from the skiing. Now, especially if you're going skiing maybe once a year, once every 2 years, like me, when I go, I really want to be able to look back on as much content as possible and just enjoy it multiple times over. When I'm getting those ski blues through the summer especially, and I really need to remind myself of just how amazing the next winter's gonna be, I like to go back and look at loads of my footage. Now, all the little clips that you maybe take on your phone are great. However, if you put a GoPro or an Insta360, especially on your helmet or on your chest mount or wherever it might be, on a pole or something like that, then you're going to be able to get significant amounts of footage and really relive that experience of flying through those beautiful mountains, down those slopes, overtaking people. Just the whole thing is just going to be right there for your own viewing pleasure. Now, let's get into some of the things I take. Now, I am a tech freak, as I just spoke about, so I take way too much, but some of the things that I take, because I'm often in a group, are not just for my own utilization. Other people use them, and we quite often go out where 2 or 3 of us have actually got cameras on us, so we can all sort of look back at each other skiing and sit down at future dates and really watch these back. So let's start off with the original classic, the GoPro. Now, GoPro, from a technical perspective, over the last probably at least 5 to 6 years, have really let themselves go in terms of innovation. However, that being said, they are still, from an action camera point of view, my favorite in terms of the overall image quality. In terms of the technology, the hardware, the battery, the software, pretty much everything else, they have now been surpassed by the likes of DJI, and DJI's pocket camera, I think they're on version 5 now, I would say is probably superior in every single way, except for the overall image in pure daytime, to the GoPro. I don't know why GoPro have fallen off so much. I don't know why they're not innovating anymore. The processors they use in their cameras are really quite out of date now, which is why they do struggle to keep up with the competition in terms of things that use a lot of processor utilization for post-processing, like, for example, shooting in darker environments. Now, with skiing, we don't really ski in the dark for the most part, and even if you did, it would probably be extremely well floodlit, so that's not really much of a problem. And the reason I like the GoPro is really because of that overall image. I love that GoPro look. It really is a special look in terms of action cameras. Now, I've actually historically always had a GoPro that is probably a good 1 or 2 versions behind and not really updated them very often. However, at the moment I have the 2 latest versions. So The two latest versions are the GoPro 12 and the GoPro 13. Now I actually had a GoPro 10 and I got the GoPro 12 without really doing much investigation into it. And what I didn't realize was it doesn't have the GPS built into it, which was extremely annoying because when I'm out on the scooters or when I'm skiing, I like to look back at the footage and overlay the speeds and the altitudes and the incline and all those different things onto the image, which you can do when you've got a GPS built into the camera product, and have a look back and see the speeds and all those various kind of things. Well, the GoPro 12 completely wiped that out. They literally just completely removed it. However, when I bought it, like I said, for one reason or another, which is very unusual for me, I did no investigation and I just wanted an upgrade. So bought the GoPro 12. Now, unfortunately, with the GoPro 12, it doesn't have that GPS, and that was extremely annoying. However, I did use it a lot. It is a good camera. The output quality is fantastic. And in addition to that, I actually bought the max angle lens that goes with it that really gives you that incredible wide field of view. And all in all, it's a great camera. Quality is great. I love that 1:1 image ratio with the full 5K of the sensor, because then you can crop it into vertical or horizontal. I really love the stabilization. The stabilization is incredible. I also really like the horizon lock as well. It's got an incredible horizon lock, but because it really annoyed me in terms of that GPS being missing, this year when it came out, I actually went out and got the Hero 13. Now at some stage I'll probably get rid of the Hero 12 and sell it or pass it on to a family member, but for now I'm going to keep it because, like I said, when we do all go in groups, quite often more than one of us wears a camera. Now the GoPro Hero 13 Black that I've got here, again, I bought with it the additional wide angle lens. It's got some real good improvements over the 12. The most important one is the GPS is back. So GoPro, what were you thinking? Loving having the GPS back. In addition to that, they've also got with this lens technology where you can put these different lenses on and off, and they actually have ND filters, and they have a anamorphic lens, and they also have this wide angle lens. They're auto sensing. So rather than having to put the lens on, go into the settings and change those settings to suit the lens you're using, they're automatically detected and then utilized. Outside of that, like I said, GoPro aren't really innovating very much right now. So this camera is pretty much the same. It's probably got the same CPU, the same sensor, the same a lot of things. The other thing they did really improve is the battery life. Now, one of the big negatives with GoPro over all of the competition is their battery life is not as good, and especially in the cold, it's not as good. In fact, cold really does have quite a significant effect on the battery life of the GoPros, albeit this 13 is slightly better. The downside to that is the batteries that I had for my 12 are no longer compatible with my 13, and that is annoying because I had bought a few batteries when I got it with it. Now with my GoPro 13, I did get the double charger and some spare batteries because you do need them if you really want to get like a good few hours footage of your days skiing, or in fact any sport that you're doing. You're going to need to carry around an extra couple of batteries with you because the GoPros just don't do that well, especially in the cold. But all in all, love a GoPro, love the history, wish they would drag themselves out of the gutter in terms of innovation, but that output of that camera and that 1:1 aspect ratio in the 5K, it does just slightly eclipse everything else. So yeah, GoPro, pull it together, let's have some innovation. Now, moving along, let's continue to talk about action cameras. I have quite a long history with Insta360 because they used to sponsor my channel and they used to send me items, and in fact they still do send me items. So I've got quite a few Insta360 products, and all of my things I keep in cases because I am one of those people that has to take the utmost care of every single thing that I own. And This little case here was just one from Amazon, not a specific one, whereas these two little cases here that I actually don't use for Insta360s are an Insta360 case. Now this case I have various items in. The first thing, let's quickly talk about this. I've got an Insta360 Go. Now an Insta360 Go is this really cool little camera. It comes in this tiny little case with a tiny little tripod built into it. You can now get it in white or black, I believe. And you can either use it in the case with its little tripod as a camera, or you can actually pop out the tiny, minute little camera, and you can either clip that to yourself. They do like a little magnet mount that you can wear, or you can place it on something else, or you can stick it to something. You could even stick it to your helmet. There's various different mounts for it. I've got some in here, and you can utilize it however you want. Now, the great thing about the Insta360 Go is that it's so tiny. You can very much get away with wearing it all through the resorts, on the slopes, absolutely everything, and no one's going to batter an eyelid at you because they're not really going to notice that you've got it on. So if you really want that sort of POV, walking through the village, wearing it in shops, all of that kind of stuff, the Insta360 Go is a fantastic option. It really is. And lately, the most recent one is also 4K, so you get that great image quality. Now, a long time ago, probably about 3 or 4 years ago, in fact, no, I don't think it was that long, about 2 years ago, Insta360 sent me out the Insta360 1R. So this is a 360-degree camera in a similar form as a GoPro. They kind of have a very sort of similar look to them. The difference being is that, as you can tell by the name, the Insta360 is a 360-degree camera. Now, I love 360-degree cameras, especially when you're doing things like skiing, because you really do not have to pay any attention to framing the shot. Right now, if I was to turn this on, it would record absolutely everything that's going on. Down, up, left, right, forward, backwards, everything gets recorded. And then when you actually go to edit it, you can just simply choose the angle, the position, the zoom, everything you want on the shot, and you can then drag that out and use it however you would like to. Now, the downside of a 360-degree camera historically was that even though they're 4K, much like the GoPro, although the GoPro is 5K, they are 4K split between two. So the camera quality was never even close to that of a GoPro or a DJI mobile camera, portable. I can't remember the name of the DJI one now, but their little action camera. They were never as good. And in fact, Insta360 also bought out an additional product which was called the Insta360 X3, which has a different form factor to it. It's in this sort of longer form factor. Rather than being in the shape of a GoPro, for example, it's longer and slimmer and looks slightly different. Still has the 360-degree cameras, but has a big screen on the front that really enables you to have a look around at what you're doing and enables you to navigate all of the menus and everything else. Now, again, that had the same issue as most of the cameras that came before it, regardless of form factor, because it was 4K but split between two, so only 2K video quality on each side. In addition to that, the one thing that's always been frustrating with the 360 cameras from from Insta360 is that they are very, very vulnerable to scratches, and once you damage the lens, they have never been replaceable, and it's very, very expensive and time consuming to get replacements. So Insta360 bring out the Insta360 X4, which looks identical to the X3, but it is bigger, it is heavier, and it's got some amazing extra features. The most important extra feature on the Insta360 X4 is the fact that it's got 8K now split between the two cameras. So what that means is each camera is 4K. Now that means that not only is your overall 360 image significantly higher in quality, but in addition to that, if you do want to use it in an action camera form, which basically means to only shoot forward rather than 360 or backwards through one of the cameras at a time, you get full 4K action camera quality rather than before it was only 2K. The second amazing thing about the X4 is they finally brought out user removable and replaceable lens covers, which means that you can put these lens covers on. I've got the plastic ones on, although they do glass as well for that slightly higher quality. You're never gonna have to worry about damaging them because you can just simply screw them off and screw them back on. It's got lots and lots of other updates in terms of stabilization, in terms of clarity, in terms of quality. It's got lots and lots and lots of updates. This Insta360 X4 is a serious piece of kit, and if you really want, in my opinion, the absolute best way to capture footage when you're out and about without having to put too much thought into it, the X4 is the way to go because it captures everything around you. So that time when you're skiing along and your friend comes past you and they fall over, you haven't got to worry that your camera wasn't facing on them at the time because you can simply move that around in the post edit and you'll be able to see them nice and clearly. So the Insta360 X4 is an incredible route to go down. Now, don't just presume that the ones that came before it are not worth anything, because they are still excellent cameras, and for the amount of money you can pay for them now, either secondhand or new, they're still a great option. But if image quality and number of pixels means as much to you as it does to me, then you're really going to want to go with the X4. And I can't imagine they're going to do many upgrades to that in the years to come, because 8K split between two cameras is pretty much as high as they're going to get to for a good period of time. Now, with the Insta360, one of the amazing things with it is that if you use it with a selfie stick or something like this, which is a unicorn mount, so this little unicorn mount is probably about 12 inches long, and you can put that on top of your helmet, and because it pokes out a good foot in front of you, it's going to give you quite good image of you looking back at yourself without having to actually hold something out. Now, they do lots and lots of little extras. You can get one that clips on your ski pole. You can also get this one that I'm holding in my hand, and for the podcast listeners, this is a selfie stick, but it's actually, I think, 3 meters long. It might even be longer than that, but it is huge, great big long. But it's not particularly heavy because it's made completely out of carbon fiber, but it really does extend a huge amount. Now, if you hold this up behind you, the crazy amazing software for the Insta360 deletes the selfie stick out of the footage, and it literally looks like there's a drone following you. Or if you hold this up and you're following someone else, it looks like a drone is following them. This is a great bit of kit to combine together to get those really, really cool shots. If you love sharing on social media like I do your experiences, this is a fantastic way to get that footage across and share it with your friends and your family and your viewers and your followers. Insta360, amazing bit of kit. Now, one thing that irritates me with the Insta360, the X range, is that because they're quite tall in the way they've made the form, what that means is that they stick out on the top of your helmet, and every time you get in the chairlift, it quite often catches. So what they brought out was they brought out a horizontal mount, which means that you can actually mount it more in the form of a GoPro or a typical traditional action camera, and that will go on and it doesn't take up that huge amount of height on your helmet. So I definitely recommend that little extra add-on that you can get for that, and utilize that so you don't constantly catch the camera on your helmet on every single time you go on the chairlift. The little unicorn mount is great, gives you that sort of more view down on yourself when you're doing it, and all of that fits into this little case that I got from Amazon. I'm sure if you search for it, you'll find it. It's probably about, I don't know, 12 inches by 6 inches, something like that. And that allows me to store all of my Insta360 cameras in there, my horizontal mount, along with the unicorn mount and a whole bunch of small adapters that I've got in there as well. Really smart little case that I'm sure it was only £10 or something like that. Now, let's go on a little bit further. One thing I love with the Insta360 is they do, I don't know the exact name of it, but they do essentially what I would call a watch. So this is in the very much similar form of an Apple Watch. You put it on your arm, it connects up to your Insta360, and on here you can pan around 360 degrees using your finger, and you can also tell it when to start and stop recording and change the settings. So when it's on your head, you haven't got to like take your gloves off and start fiddling around, or take your helmet off and have a look at the camera. You can just use the watch, connect it up, and instantly you can just press a button, start recording, stop recording, change your settings, all very easily, all from the wrist. And it's got a nice big rubber strap on it, so you can actually put it on the outside of your ski jacket as well, so you don't even have to pull your sleeve up. What is also built into there is all of the GPS. So if you want to add those overlays with your speed and your altitude and your inclination and all the other different things that you can add on with GPS, this watch product really is a great add-on, and my mother-in-law actually bought me that for a Christmas present, and I really do love it. It's such a great product. Now, with all of these things, you're going to want various mounts. This, for example, is a GoPro car mount, which has got a little suction on it. But the cool thing about this is if, for example, you wanted to record on your car on the way through the mountains, for example, on the way there, you can use this. But also if you're in a gondola, for example, you can stick this to the window in the gondola, put your camera on, and you can have a nice stable footage of that view all the way up through the mountains. And when you're going up in a gondola, like for example up to the Matterhorn Paradise, or from the Matterhorn Paradise down to Zermatt, or from the Matterhorn Paradise down to Chivigna, putting this on the window, having your GoPro and having that sort of 20-30 minute bit of footage watching yourself going through all of the mountains on the way down on that gondola is less sad and less geeky than it sounds, and is a great bit of footage to have. Now, onto drones. DJI have recently brought out this drone, which I'm holding up to camera, but for the purpose of the podcast is probably slightly smaller than the size of my hand. And it's a self-flying drone called the Neo. Now this drone, although you can use your phone as a remote control for it, and in fact you can even have a remote control for it, the real purpose of this drone is to simply point it towards you, press a button, select one of the 6 options that you've got in terms of what that drone will do, and away you go. And then it comes back, lands in your hand, and you've got that footage. Now, one of the ones on here is a follow me setting. And if you do that, it will quite literally sit a few feet behind you and follow you skiing or walking wherever it is that you may go. Now you can't ski very fast with this following you because it is not that fast, but you can potter along and just allow that really, really cool view of a drone following you to come into the shot. And it's just a great bit of kit. It's so tiny, you could quite literally put it on the inside pocket of your jacket or put it in your backpack, and it's nothing really to carry around. It weighs absolutely nothing, and a really, really great way at a good price as well to be able to get that different type of footage that most people aren't going to be getting for their social media or for their friends, or even for just yourself to view back later. The DJI Neo is a great product, and 4K as well, so really, really good camera quality with that. Now, I've got whole bunches of accessories in here. When you go away, you want to make sure you've got lots of mounts, lots of different clips, lots of different fittings, lots of different adapters, so you can always be sure that you've got something for each occasion. Now, one thing that I also love to use when I'm out and about, again, mainly for my own viewing rather than to put it anywhere, because I haven't really been uploading very much of this in terms of sort of long form content, is this. This is the DJI Pocket 3, I think it is. Now, this is the tiny little DJI camera with a screen on the front of it that you rotate to get it started, and it's got a built-in gimbal. Now, this is really cool. With this, you can either have it facing you, you can have it facing away from you, you can even put it into portrait mode. It also comes with a wide lens adapter, so you can really get that amazing wide field of view. But this little gadget is absolutely incredible. Insanely smooth footage, great quality night and day, and is just an overall pleasure to be around. And if I was to go back to vlogging like I used to do, this would definitely be the device that I would use, because you can just put it in your pocket, whip it out your pocket, put it straight on. It's separate from all of your camera footage on your phone, so you don't have to start separating out all your different videos. It records everything to an SD card, and this is a great device. And actually, all the reviews of this when it came out, there wasn't a single negative one. This is a mind-blowing, unique, fantastic product that you can only recommend. Now, I bought a specific kit with that, and in there you get a dedicated DJI mic which connects up to that. So if you want impeccable audio quality, much like the tiny little one that I've got on now, which actually also works with that, you can just simply clip that straight on. It's automatically paired and you can have that great audio quality. The kit that I got also comes with an extra battery that you can clip on the bottom of it, a small case and various other small little bits, and the whole thing fits into this tiny little package, which is probably no bigger than maybe, I don't know, something like a sort of fairly decent sized portable battery pack. But definitely have a look at that if you would really like to get that really nice footage that you can keep and look back on in a great form factor. Now, moving on from that, we can just put that back over there. We also have here, this is the DJI Mini Pro 4 drone. Now, I won't get this all out of the bag, but in here is a drone, a couple of batteries, a charger, and in addition to that, a controller with the screen built in. And this all fits into this tiny little satchel that, again, you'd have no problem carrying around with you. And if you want to get drone footage of the resort or on the way there, or you and your friends, it can even follow you if there's possibilities to do that. Especially if you were going completely free riding and there was no one around, this sort of drone would be absolutely incredible. Now, because it's less than the 250 grand limit, you've got lots of flexibility in terms of where you can fly this and who you can fly it around. So obviously look up the rules where you're going, make sure that A, they're allowed, and B, that you're fitting into the rules for that particular country or location. But the DJI Mini 4 Pro is the ultimate drone, because in my opinion, it's so small, so compact, but with such great quality, it gives you that kind of perfect solution. Now, moving on slightly from there, I've got a little bit of a unique one for you. If you're driving like I do, it's very important that you have the ability to pump up your tires. Now, this little gadget here is actually made by a company called, I think it's MI, and it's a portable tire pump with a built-in battery. And all you do to use it is just pull out the little adapter, you set your tire pressure on here, screw it onto your tire, and it will pump it up. All in this little package. Don't need to plug it into a cigarette lighter, don't need to plug it into anything. It's got its own battery built in, and I've actually used this when a car tire is very close to flat, and it's worked perfectly. So I'll leave a link to that in the video description if anyone wants to take a closer look. But essentially, again, it's like a sort of medium-sized battery pack in your hand, very portable, would fit in your pocket if you wanted it to, and you can use that for taking with you everywhere you go and having that ability to pump up your tires. Now, whether you're going skiing or not, this is a great little thing to just have tucked away in your car. Just make sure when it comes time to use it that you've definitely got it charged. So very important. For those watching on camera, I apologize. The sun has just come out after a ridiculously rainy day and it's completely blown out the highlights behind me, but hopefully you guys can still see me if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on the podcast app or Spotify, do bear in mind you can watch this on YouTube. Just search for the CarveCast. Now, finishing off with a couple more products. This product here is the DJI Mic Mini. Now, that's what I'm actually recording this podcast on at the moment. You can see I've got this tiny little microphone here. The actual receiver is over on my camera, but this is the little box that it comes in. It's literally like the size of a sort of old-fashioned, I say old-fashioned, they still sell them, but a 20 box of cigarettes, that kind of size. Now, this has got two mics, the receiver, and in addition to that, it's got a built-in battery. So as soon as you put everything back in the box, it's automatically charging. And if there's a couple of you going on holiday and you want to make a little vlog, or you want to do some kind of story, you want to record to video, whatever it might be, then the DJI Mic Mini is a great little microphone to have. And I think they're only about £120, which is great value really for what you're getting. Now, last, coming up here, a couple of other bits and pieces. I've got some battery packs here. Now, this one in particular is made by a company called Charge, S-H-A-R-G. And the reason I love these is because they're completely see-through in their cases. You can see all of the processors, but in addition to that, they've also got a screen which tells you the percent of the battery. It tells you how much longer an item has got to charge if it supports PD. And you've also got the input and the output wattage, which really does give you that, complete feedback on making sure that you know exactly where you're at in terms of batteries. I've got this one, and then in addition to that, I've got this much bigger one. This is 20,000 milliamp hour, and this one is 24,000 milliamp hour, but both of them have screens. The 24,000 milliamp hour is a fair bit bigger than the 20,000 milliamp hour. I think that 20,000 milliamp hour one is a sweet spot, but again, I'll put a link in the show notes and in the video description. Now, this bad boy here is 40,000 milliamp hours. This is another portable battery pack made by a company called AOHI. And this one I love because it has the unique ability where you can actually charge it and charge other things at the same time, which these two don't do. So this is a really immense battery pack, and this is going to last you for a very long time if you're taking this away with you. Now, what I quite like to do when I'm going to foreign countries is, rather than having to have adapters all the time to charge all my items, I leave my battery pack charging through the day when I'm out of the room or out of the apartment, and then at night time, rather than having to plug everything into the wall, I just plug my devices into my battery packs, and then they're charged by the morning. Then I put the battery back on charge again, and away we go. And it just saves you carrying loads of different adapters, loads of this, loads of that. It just makes life a lot easier. Now, last but definitely not least is this little gadget that I've got just recently. Now, this is made by a company called New Mower. And the best place to find this actually is on TikTok. Now, what this is a tiny little portable screen. And this tiny little portable screen, it connects up on the back of your phone, and you get a little mount with it as well. And you can either plug it in by USB-C, or you can actually AirPlay to it. Now, what that means is, if you want to use the rear-facing cameras on your phone, but to point at yourself for that higher quality, rather than worrying whether you framed it correctly or not, you can see on this little screen that you stick to the back of your phone, you can see that full screen of your phone. And it's good enough quality to see, and it really does mean that rather than having to constantly use that front-facing camera, which we all know is not as high a quality as the rear-facing camera, you can have that dedicated image out of the back and utilize not only the rear-facing camera, but the rear-facing microphones as well. Now, that little product is only about £35 on TikTok, and if you're really interested in like vlogging or taking videos of yourself for whatever reason it might be, then you can utilize that little product, and it really does give you that extra image quality, extra audio quality, and then whatever you're sort of putting out or keeping for yourself is going to be better for the future in terms of the look and sound of that video. So that is pretty much my tech in skiing video. I hope that was somewhat useful to some of you. The other things that I tend to take with me are a MacBook of some description. Obviously, like the 13-inch MacBook Air would be a great thing to take, the 14-inch MacBook Pro, or if you want to lug around like me, the 16-inch MacBook Pro, but that's purely because I need it for work. And then obviously you've got iPads, iPad mini, iPad Pro, whatever the case may be, for those evenings when you're tired after skiing and you want to just kick back and watch a movie, or play a game or whatever the case may be. iPad's obviously great, your phone, and any other product that you want to take with you. I also quite often take a DSLR camera. I've got a Canon R5 that I take with me if I just want to get some really, really nice shots of the kids or the family or my friends, for example. But, you know, phone cameras these days are of such a high quality that it's not as required as it used to be. But you will never, ever beat that shot that comes fresh out of a DSLR with that bokeh, with that beautiful lens and that low aperture or high aperture, depending on what way you want to look at it. There's nothing that compares to that. And the quality of the video on a DSLR is also next level as well. In fact, the Canon R5 does 8K. So you're never going to beat that with a phone, not for a long time. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Tech in skiing. Hope you guys enjoyed this sort of super special bumper episode of Tech in Skiing. If you've got any questions, please do write them in the comments. Thank you very much to long-time viewer Adam2929. I appreciate it. I do recognise, by the way, guys, all of the names that I used to see on my videos over the many years I've been doing YouTube on my other channels. I recognise them all, and I'm very, very grateful for all of your ongoing support. I really do appreciate it. Plus everyone new to the CarveCast as well, who's maybe not even seen me on social media, who's just picked this up from the podcast app or from a recommendation on YouTube. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you're enjoying all of these episodes, and I will see you in the next one.